Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are back after a week off and here with some more PGA DFS picks and lineup advice for FanDuel and DraftKings. This time for the Rocket Mortgage Classic up there in Detroit. Welcome. I'm Brian Jester, co founder here at Occupy Fantasy. And if you're new here, first of all, welcome. What we normally do is we break down the PGA event from a high level. We look at what this course demands from each player. We talk about the weather and the impacts that may have on your lineup constructions. We'll analyze the betting markets to look for sharp sportsbook overlap plays. And we'll close it out with some ownership discussion, who the highest owned plays are expected to be, and who are some under the radar options that can help you win those biggest contests on FanDuel and DraftKings. So let's jump into it. Rocket Mortgage Classic. And let's talk about the event. I will bring up the daily plug at occupyfantasy.com, our writer Niramata, who comes in every week and breaks it down, gives his favorite plays, talks about the course characteristics, the weather, lineup construction tips, everything you need to navigate a PGA DFS slate. And if we scroll down to the course info here, he talks about some of the player attributes that we want. And really, when building the model this week and even analyzing the betting market some, a couple of things come to mind here. If you read Tony Finau's or if you listen to Tony Finau's press conference on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, he was saying the course conditions are super easy. He mentioned something of the winning score being in the minus 30 range, something crazy like that. So, first and foremost, we have to prioritize golfers who score well in really easy conditions, right? There's some weeks we look at golfers who thrive in tougher scoring conditions, but then there are weeks like this week where we have to look at golfers who thrive when it's really easy to make a lot of birdies. So that's number one. We look at driving here, and over the past couple of years, we see that accuracy generally is more correlated to strokes gained than distance. However, off the tee in general, good drives gained, which if you're unfamiliar with that stat, it's a great stat. It looks at how often do drives end up with a green in regulation. So a lot of times that can capture really far drives in the rough that get you close to the green, or just really accurate drives, well-placed drives that give you great placement for the green. So good drives gained is a really good data point to look at when you're looking at off the tee. And then par 5 scoring is going to be extremely important this week. 4 par 5s. Again, you have to go low here, so you have to take advantage of these par 5s. I think 3 of the 4 are reachable in 2 shots. So you have to be great in par 5s in general. And then approach, Niramata said less than 125 yards. We expanded a little bit to 150 yards. But basically, from that range in, you have to be really dialed in. There are going to be tons of approach shots. From 150 in, this golf course has higher than PGA average number of approach shots from each bucket from 50 yards in all the way up to 150. So it's more important this week than it is on other courses. So if you look at these statistics, and a lot of our model is built around these statistics, this will give you a good edge on players to pick for this week. Now, let's think about the weather some. Haven't had to think about it too much, honestly. It seems like to me over the past few slates. If we bring up Windfinder, our trusted resource when it comes to looking at wind for PGA DFS, Thursday afternoon, the gust here, as you see, the top number is the wind speed. Gust is in the colored boxes here. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., we get up to 15 mile per hour gusts. Nothing crazy, but certainly more impactful than the morning when it's almost single digits. Then if we look at Friday, when golfers get out there, 18 mile per hour gusts, maybe a little more in the 7 p.m. tee times, and that tapers off throughout the day. So one would think, again, while it's not a huge edge, we do see edges materialize larger than anticipated sometimes. I would say if you're breaking ties or if you're building a bunch of lineups, there is some merit to building lineups with a full wave stack of golfers to tee off Thursday morning and Friday afternoon. They'll see the least amount of wind in that regard. Again, I truly don't think it'll impact too much this week, but we're looking for every edge possible. No stone remains unturned. So we have to say that the slight edge is in their favor Thursday morning, Friday afternoon. So again, I wouldn't necessarily go build your single entry lineup that way. But if you're breaking ties, 2 guys are close to each other in the same price range, or again, you're building a handful of lineups, you do want to try to maximize any edge you can. Thursday morning, Friday afternoon certainly seems to be the way to go. And again, this can always change, but this is as of 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Monitor the forecast throughout the rest of the day to make sure. Now, let's talk about the betting market moves. Again, if you're new here, what we do every week, we monitor 3 or 4 sharp sports books. We look at the golfers' odds to win Monday morning, and we monitor how those moves have changed or those odds have changed throughout the week. Golfers whose odds to win have improved at every single sharp sportsbook, we consider that a sharp sportsbook play. Basically, sharp groups either hitting every book or books are recognizing enough that this golfer's odds to win are likely better than what they initially put out. We love putting these golfers into our lineups because not only are they values, they're a little bit lower owned for the most part, and they have a great track record of finishing top 20, top 10, and even winning some of these tournaments. Now, this is not an elevated event. You see Tony Finau, the most expensive golfer in the field this week. Morikawa 10-6. None of the Rahm, Scheffler, Rorys are playing this week. Really weakens out after the top handful of golfers. When we see these wide open events, typically we see the sharp overlap play. We see that expand. Major weeks, elevated events, those lists are a couple names long. This week, we have 9 golfers who qualify for the Sharp Sportsbook Overlap play. At every single sportsbook that we track, their odds to win have improved. So let's talk about them. Number 1, and again, this is in no particular order. We're just looking at golfers. I'll break this down into buckets. So we have 2 highly, highly touted amateurs, and Ludwig Aberg, 8,700 this week. He is on the list. And if we look at his performances so far, has made the cut in each of his events so far this year. Really highly touted, number 1 amateur in the world. He's on the Sharp Sportsbook Overlap play this week, playing the high long-term ceiling here. The other one is Gordon Sargent, who we saw get weirdly popular at the Masters, right? Was cut at the Masters, and then T39 at the U.S. Open, so a little more reasonable there. He's on the list this week. So again, small or weaker field. We're looking for a high upside, long-term talent. Sargent and Ludwig Aberg fit the bill this week. Next on the list, we have 2 guys near the top of the pricing board. Colin Morikawa, who if you read anything this week, our daily plug included, you'll know that he went super low on Friday. Still missed the cut because he was terrible on Thursday. But we love seeing those super low rounds. That's a precursor to another guy we're going to talk about later. So Morikawa is on the overlap play this week, just 15% projected ownership. We love to see that. Speaking of ownership, let's take a look at the Occupy model. Ranks every golfer, FanDuel, and DraftKings with projected ownership. Aberg, 14%. Okay, not bad. The other one is Gordon Sargent, just 9% projected ownership. We love that a little bit more. And then Morikawa, who we talked about, if I can type his name correctly, 15% projected ownership. The other one is Tom Kim, Ju Young Kim in our model, 17% projected ownership. Of course, fits him extremely well. Disappointed a bit last week. Still made the cut top 40, so not bad. But Morikawa and Tom Kim at the top of the pricing board are 2 of the overlap plays. So if you're siding with ownership and you're looking at salaries, these are the guys I would side with. That's what the sharp sports books are siding with. All right, other guys who make the cut. Ryan Palmer, $7,200. So we look for a cheap option. Ryan Palmer, low owned as well. Well, middle of the pack, 8%. Not too bad. Another one here, I have to bring up my list to see who's been. This guy's been absolutely just hitting top 10s at a crazy pace. Austin Eckroat, 21%, the most popular mid-range play on the board. Always a little iffy to play those types of players, but this course fits him extremely well. Let's look at Eckroat's finishes here lately. 24th at the Travelers, 10th at the U.S. Open, 30th, 16th, T2 at the Byron Nelson, 5th at Punta Cana, which, by the way, is a comp course here. You have to go super low to win Punta Cana. We will bring up this course here in a second. 5th there, so we'd like seeing that. The biggest thing against playing Austin Eckroat, obviously, is his ownership. If he misses the cut at 21% or whatever he's going to be, big leg up on your competition. But the model and the betting markets are indicating that ownership is justified. We just know historically those plays don't work out as often as their ownership indicates. All right, next we have, bring up my list here. We have Nick Hardy, 7,300, so another cheap option. Nick Hardy is one of the lower owned options, 7%. We love seeing that. And finally, we have 2 more guys here. We have Thomas Detry, 7,400, 9%, so another sub 10% option. And then we have Charlie Hoffman, just literally out of nowhere. Not sure how he made the list, but Charlie Hoffman is on the list, and he's 0% owned, and he's 6,800 on DraftKings. No one's going to play him. Reserve him for large field contests only. But it always causes you to raise an eyebrow when you see a 0% owned golfer on the overlap list. So if it causes me to raise my eyebrow, I will certainly have some allocation to him in my mass multi-entry lineups. Looking through these names, really one thing stands out, and that is the ability to go low. If we look at these golfers, and that is the 9 golfers I just listed, if you look at their ranks in this field over the last 75 rounds of performance in easy scoring conditions, what we highlighted at the top of the show, one of the most important factors to look at this week, Nick Hardy is 5th. Talked about Nick Hardy already. Tom Kim is 6th. Austin Eckroat 10th. Ryan Palmer 11th. Detry 17th. We have the 2 amateurs who have won events in their amateur days in really low scoring conditions. Colin Morikawa is 6th in the field in tee to green strokes game in easy scoring conditions. The only one who doesn't fit the bill is Charlie Hoffman, who's like middle of the pack. He's like 50th, which I guess is pretty good for his price tag. But again, Hoffman legit out of left field on this list. Every other guy does something extremely well in low scoring conditions. So this goes to show that that is an important factor this week, which isn't rocket science, right? You look at the last year's leaders and you see that. But a lot of people don't take that into account. All right, let's close out the show with some ownership discussion here. And let's look at the highest owned projected plays on DraftKings. Ricky Fowler, no surprise, has been amazing this year. Hideki Sungjae, all these guys in the 15% or higher range rank really well in our model. The one guy that we have to take pause in is Keegan Bradley. Went really low last week, 24 or whatever the hell he was under. We're not really in the club of playing guys in back-to-back weeks just because the pure energy it takes to close out a PGA tournament of any level. And at 19% projected ownership, that's a guy that I think is easy fade. And if you actually look, let me see if I can scroll down here a little bit. His odds have drifted at our partner sportsbook, Sugar House, opened at plus 3,100. Now it's opened at plus 2,500. Now it's plus 2,800. So just another reason to get on the fade Keegan Bradley train. Had nearly 20% ownership. We'll see if this comes down over the week, but we'll do one more final ownership update tonight, 7 8 p.m. Eastern. Still looks like he'll be in the high ownership bucket, so I think a pretty easy fade based on last week's heroics. Finally, let's look at low-owned options. We already mentioned a few with the overlap plays. I'll call out some guys that our model doesn't rate favorably well. You can sort the model by OF index. You can see the guys who statistically, quantitatively, rank high in the model and have low ownership. That's easy to see. You can go do that yourself, OccupyFantasy.com. Here, I'm going to give you some subjective factors that the model may not be picking up on as reasons you may want to play these guys at 6% or less ownership. So, Nate Lashley is actually ranks pretty well in the model, has won this event before. So Nate Lashley, 4% projected ownership. Davis Riley, who it wouldn't be a daily plug if our writer Niramata did not write him up. However, 4% owned. This is when we want to play him. Has shown sparks to his game both in the approach and off the tee. Can go really low. Davis Riley, high long-term ceiling if he hasn't shown it that much over the past 6 to 12 months. Big fan of Davis Riley this week at 4% projected ownership. Sam Bennett, we mentioned hot amateurs, highly touted amateurs. Sam Bennett has to fit the bill as well. Really has performed better than those other guys so far in limited PGA Tour events. 4% owned. We'd love to see that. Alex Noren, top 70 or so in the world rankings. If we're looking for guys who rate highly, and he's won lower scoring conditions in the past, guys who rate highly in a weakened field, Alex Noren at 4%. We'd love to see that. Let's keep on scrolling. Grayson Sigg at 3% projected ownership. I think Niramata actually wrote him as an other play this week that he likes. 3% has won multiple Korn Ferry Tour events when the scoring conditions are super easy, as it will be this weekend. So, again, we're looking for correlation. We're looking for comp courses. We're looking for guys who have the ability to do this. Grayson Sigg at 3%. We got to love it. Let's keep on scrolling. Cameron Champ, cover boy of the Daily Plug. If distance plays a part, really no one is as equipped. Champ plays really well at this course. One of the few courses he does play well at. 1% projected ownership. We'll take that shot for him. Finally, I will keep scrolling. I'll give you one final name, and I'm going to have to keep scrolling because he is 0% projected ownership. Yeah, let's keep scrolling. Let's keep on scrolling. Where is he? Where could he be? And he is right here. Chad Ramey, 0% projected on DraftKings, 1% on FanDuel. Mentioned Eckroat's 5th place finish at Punta Cana. You look at Nate Lashley, who won this event previously, has also won at Punta Cana. Chad Ramey won at Punta Cana last year. So if we're looking for this Punta Cana comp course reference, can go low in similar conditions, similar field qualities. Maybe this one's a little better, obviously, with Finau at the top. But Chad Ramey, there's enough there. There's enough juice there at 0% to take some shots. And again, this is not a guy you're going to play in your cash game lineups. It's not a guy you're going to play even in your 100-man contest. But if you're playing 20-plus lineups, you get 5 to 10% exposure to Chad Ramey. Maybe 5%, 10% is a bit aggressive. But 5% Chad Ramey, no one's going to have him. He finishes top 5. You're near the top of GPPs. So hopefully we gave you enough names. I think there's a ton of lower owned options this week. This is a fantastic GPP week given the lowered event. So let's go back to DraftKings here. All right, so that'll do it for this video. For final thoughts, here's what you can do. Check out the daily plug, occupyfantasy.com. Your model will go in and put the Wednesday update later this afternoon. Occupy model ranks every golfer, FanDuel, and DraftKings projected ownership. We'll get one final ownership update later this evening. Our lineup builder allows you to build up to 300 PGA DFS lineups using our Occupy model values, all of our custom rules. Go check that out as well. And the final Sharp Sportsbook overlap play list, it'll be updated a couple times throughout the day. I will post the final list in our Discord server tonight, 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you check that out as well. All the links for everything you need is in the description below. If you made it this far and you like what you've seen, make sure you give us a thumbs up. That lets us know to keep making these videos every single week. The more thumbs up we get, the more inclined we are to make these videos. Drop a subscribe. It's free to do. Let you notified whenever you get whenever we upload any videos here on YouTube. Again, just click subscribe below. I think that's it. Any questions, comments below? Comment below on our YouTube channel on this video, and we'll get back to you before the slate begins. So, Brian Jester for Occupy Fantasy. Thank you for listening as always, and good luck at the Rocket Mortgage Classic.